Hello to all, and welcome back to the basement. So this is just a quick little, for what it's worth, talking about sharpening drill bits, and in particular talking about putting a split point on drill bits at home in an economical and yet effective way. So first, let's talk about how a drill bit cuts. A twist drill bit going into a material is a little bit like having a pair of wood chisels facing opposite directions, spinning in a circle. The sharp blade of the wood chisel is going to cut away a curl. The bevel of the wood chisel is facing down, and the chisel is tilted such that the blade is the first thing, the edge of the blade is the first thing to touch the material. A drill bit should be cut at an angle of about 118 degrees for most general purpose cutting. The angle that the sharp edge contacts the material is called the lip clearance angle, and it generally should be about 12 degrees. When you look at the drill bit sideways, you can tell by looking at the highlighted line whether there is some lip clearance angle. If that line is perpendicular to the axis of the drill bit, then there's no lip clearance angle, so the cutting edge is not contacting the material. With a traditional grind, however, the web doesn't actually have a direct way to cut downward into the material. The web is the kind of the cold chisel shaped center point of the drill bit. However wide or thick that web is, instead of slicing it away, it's having to simply push the metal out of the way. It is possible to deform the metal in that way, but it's not easy, so it requires a great deal of pressure, incurs a lot of friction, and will tend to overheat and dull the drill bit. So by putting a split point, this web area is now sharp on its other edges. So as the web goes down, it can cut a small curl away where the web is at, and then allow the normal lip to come in contact with the material to cut. A split point drill bit drills a lot faster, a lot cooler, and tends to stay on center better than a drill bit that's not split point. A factory ground split point, or what I'm calling an ideal split point, uses a precision tool cutter set at about 135 degrees to cut away half of the chisel point area of the web on each ground face of a sharp drill bit. It leaves about 1/3 of the normal grind surface in place and adds additional clearance the back 2/3 of the normal ground surface. This leaves a sharp face on either side of the webbing chisel point, and it's that sharp face that can now cut into the material and actually cut away the area where the webbing is, instead of just deforming the metal out of the way. What I've found is that I can use a cutoff wheel and a Dremel tool to simulate this effect. I create a sharp cut edge halfway through the chisel point in the webbing area and feather that ground area out, creating the similar clearance on the ground surface of a sharp drill bit. I aim for approximately the same 1/3 line, leaving about 1/3 of the original sharp ground surface in place, but I don't try to remove the entire area of clearance. I just leave kind of a fan-shaped delta area. The important part is right at the webbing, where there's still a very sharp face on either half of the chisel point in the webbing area. But just like at a factory, the process is similar. Number 1, sharpen the drill bit using traditional methods and angles. Number 2, use the Dremel to carve out a split point right at the chisel point of the webbing. Here's a traditional grind on a drill bit. It's not in terrible condition, something like a 3/8, slightly smaller. And it's in decent condition. First thing I'm going to do is just give it a regular sharpen. Alright, so there is a regular sharpen. Has about the right angle. It's matching up to there, going to the center point. Notice it has a bit of a, not a perpendicular, but an angle. It has an angle across there. So there's a regular traditional sharpen. So now, with the cutter wheel parallel to the chisel point, I will cut in some back relief right here up to halfway across to make a chisel point. I'm trying to go about halfway across, and I'm cutting kind of a crescent shape relief, and I'm stopping as soon as I hit the plane of the chisel point. I'm trying to do this in a way that the camera can see it, and it's hard to do. It's not a perfect split tip, but it's not terrible. So there is the split point we just put on it. So let's put this in the drill press and see how it cuts. All right, I've got a piece of mild steel, 5/16 mild steel in the vise. Got the bit loaded up. Give it a little cutting oil. Let's see how it does. As we go through, and there we are. And there we have it. Split point with a Dremel. Let's see how it cuts on steel. Let's have a bit of a test. So this is a 35/64 drill bit. This is a 5/8, which is a very similar size. Let's drill through this with both drill bits and compare their performance. First, traditional factory grind in decent condition. Run it down around 200 RPM. It's probably pretty close to this size. Give it a little cutting oil. And medium pressure, a little bit of grab as we go through, and there we are. No pilot hole, no nothing. Went right through. And here is the point when we're finished. There it is. Point seems to have survived in fine condition. So, DIY drill sharpening with a Dremel supplied split point. And thanks for watching.